Hello and welcome to Radio Free Fandom, the podcast where my guests and I get down and nerdy about the media and stories that make us happy. This is episode 28. I'm Claire and my guest today is Alasdair Stuart. For those of you who don't know Alasdair, he is one of the co-owners of Escape Artist, podcaster extraordinaire and professional liker of things. He was also a 2019 finalist for the Hugo and British Fantasy Awards. Alasdair, welcome to the show.
Hi Claire, thanks for having me on. How you doing?
I'm great, thank you. I mean, great,
Yeah,
circumstances.
All these good things.
I'm in my house with my cat.
That's a win right there.
Pretty much. Thank you very much for coming on. How are you doing?
Doing all right. I'm in my house with my partner and my coffee jug, so I'm doing okay. Same kind of level.
Oh yeah, I have my partner too, but
Yeah, but
the cat is obviously like more of a fluffy, reassuring presence than is John.
Besides, everyone knows the cat runs the house and lets the pair of you live there out of the goodness of its heart.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going on. She is right now sleeping in that classic Superman cat pose with the paws extended as if she was flying through town to save us all. So
excellent.
So, Alasdair, I know you've got a lot of exciting things going on at the minute. Do you want to tell me about some of those things, what exciting projects you have on right now?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I've been doing quite a lot of things, and there are two big projects at the moment, which I keep getting distracted and wandering off from, and I really should do something about that. The first is the third draft of my novel, which I've got a couple of agents interested in it, and it's just a matter of changing everything, really. I realized that I write like most people paint walls, where, I'll put the undercoat down and I'll go, that's great. And then 3 weeks later, come back and go, I can still see the wallpaper. And I just keep adding stuff until it works. And this is very much, I think, the third or fourth coat. So things are starting to look quite good. But I just need to knuckle down and get the rest of it done. And the other big thing I have on at the moment is I'm writing, I think the technical term is a monogram for the Black Archive series, which does really in-depth critical deep dives on individual episodes of Doctor Who. And I've been given Day of the Doctor, the 50th anniversary episode, which is, it's a really fun, chewy one to write about for a start. But in the wake of the season 12 finale, it's even more fun. And I'm kind of having to write about Day of the Doctor and Timeless Children at the same time because they inform one another. So I'm having a lot of fun with that.
Maybe I'm betraying my lack of culture here, but do you want to tell me what a monogram is? Because I'm not sure I know.
Okay, I can tell you what I think a monogram is. If I remember correctly, in fact, I'm briefly going to look this up while we talk so that, I can sound like I know what I'm talking about.
I'm not sure I'm behind this doing research nonsense.
I know, right? I mean, there's just so many things that could go wrong. I get the horrible feeling that when I say monogram, I actually mean monograph, because monogram, I'm fairly certain, is the initials you sew into your clothes so people know that they're yours. Yes, I was in fact entirely wrong. I'm not working on a Doctor Who monogram, fun as that would be. I'm working on a monograph, a specialist work of writing or exhibition on a single subject or an aspect of a subject, often written by a single author or artist, and usually on a scholarly subject. And in this instance,
so a paper.
Yeah, basically it's a paper. It's like a 40,000 word paper, and it's great. I spent a long time in academia, and I enjoy writing at that kind of level in that kind of style. So I'm having a lot of fun with that one.
Oh, that's great. And I mean, what's better at parties than saying, oh, I'm writing an academic paper on Doctor Who. I know it's not academic because it's, not for an actual scholarly paper, but who cares?
Exactly.
You and I clearly go to the same kind of parties, because I was halfway through that sentence and I was like, most people would not think that is fun at parties. But you and I have the same fun at the same parties, so that's cool.
Exactly. It's the good parties, the secret ones, the ones which involve lots of watching TV and Pringles.
Now, I need to ask you something very specific, because just before we got on the recording, I was on Twitter and I saw a very, very briefly a tweet from Escape Artist about something called Cats Cast. And I'm not sure if it's a joke for April's Fools or not, because we're recording this on the 1st of April, but I just want to hear about it anyway.
Okay. Because this will go out after the day, I'm happy to provide you with some context. We actually have an on-staff trickster. And her name is Laura Pullman. She's this amazingly talented author, and she's basically our in-house Loki. And Laura came to us about 6 months ago and said, "Could I do an April Fool's joke? I know they have like a terrible reputation, but I have an idea for one." And we were like, "We're listening." And she said one word: Cats Cast. And
Yeah.
Margaret and I were both like, "Yeah, we're sold. What do you need?" So we've had people put together graphical elements for it. There is an entire intro
Jesus.
and outro, I believe, to each show's episode this week, based on Cats Cast. And as far as everyone is concerned, for today, Escape Artist is a 5-show family.
Oh, that's delightful. I'm glad you're not actually taking on more work, because that's not good.
Well, see,
But that's delightful.
the thing we are mildly worried about is that, a lot of people will go, "That was really good. Could you do that anyway?"
I mean, these are the risks you have to take.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're going to take a tiny break now, and then when we come back, we are going to have a brand new segment in which we will enthusiastically gush about stuff that is making us happy in these dark times. For our first segment today, we are going to be talking about stuff that makes us happy. I wish I had a snappy title for this segment, but I do not. So if you have an idea for a snappy title for this segment, please tweet at us at Radio Free Fandom, or you can tweet me directly at Claire Rousseau. I am not the greatest at titling things, so please help me out here. So, Alistair, I'm going to ask you to go first. What have you brought to share today that makes you happy right now?
I've actually brought a couple of YouTube channels.
Yes.
I have always liked to cook, and I'm a very enthusiastically amateur cook and baker. And there are a couple of YouTube channels which I stumbled across a little while ago, which have helped immensely in both increasing my appreciation for the art and making me perhaps a little less amateur. One of them is run by a guy called Andrew Ray, and it's called Binging with Babish, and has
Yes.
this brilliant central conceit of, here is a piece of food from a TV show or a movie. Let's make it, and then let's make it better. And he's done all kinds of stuff. I mean, he's done kind of really, really high end things. One of his favorite movies is the Jon Favreau film Chef, and he's actually had Favreau on, and they've done all the food from that, which is this lovely combination of the world's greatest grilled cheese up to some really high end stuff. Um, so I'm very, very fond of him, and he kind of the over caffeinated Robin to his supremely zen Batman is a channel called run by a guy called Joshua Weissman, and Josh is a former professional chef who has realized that the one thing he does better than cook is talk. He is very, very funny, and he has this wonderful gimmick where every video opens with him opening one of the cabinets in his kitchen where the camera is and talking to us in the cabinet. And he does the same kind of thing. It's very practical. It's very, look, this is how you do this is how you make it good, but with with extra levels of kind of how you look after your knives, how you make sure your kitchen stays clean, and it's just moments of glorious YouTube specific absurdity. He also has a ridiculously good TikTok, because Josh is a guy who's obviously realized at quite a young age that he talks far too much and far too fast. Therefore, you have 1 minute of video go is the perfect format for him. And his TikTok is really, really good value. So I'm very, very fond of those two. And there's one which we discovered more recently, which is it's a much more established channel, and it's far more varied. I believe the channel is called Life of Boris, and
Okay.
it's run by a Slav computer gamer, programmer, and cook, whose face we never see, and who continues in this increasingly surreal series of video game based wars with his neighbor, the evil Vadim, and cooking. Seriously, he has a cat called Ayrton, who he has made a small hat for, and he refers to as Comrade Cat. And and he cooks this horrifying Slav cuisine, which is equal parts, oh, I would absolutely like to eat that, and oh God, get it away from me. And it's far more absurd and far more overtly comedic than Babish and Weissman, but those three are kind of my holy trifecta of YouTube cooking shows right now.
Oh, that sounds amazing. What I love about this is you went in order of like, oh, I watch this. Like I subscribe to this and watch this very regularly with Binging with Babish. I've
Uh-huh.
been aware of it for a long time because it's a really big channel, but I've only subscribed recently and I've been watching a lot of his backlog. And it's just so great. Like he's just now, very recently, I think yesterday, done I mean, it wasn't an April Fool's because it didn't come out on the 1st of April, but it was in that kind of region where he made the like pie from Hook from the imaginary food fight.
Yes.
And so the entire first half of the video is him cooking with nothing, and just making the gestures, and then he makes it again with like actual food, and then he and his partner like just throw pies into each other's face. And it was so delightful, and there was so much commitment to the bit. I
Exactly.
appreciate commitment to the bit very much. And then, like, Josh Weissman, I've seen, like, a couple of his videos because he's been on Binging with Babish. He's the sourdough guy, right?
He's the sourdough guy.
And I mean, like everybody else, locked down in my house, unable to find yeast in the store, I thought to myself, I'll do a sourdough starter, but I only had white flour, and that will not go. You need maybe that goes, and maybe I was slightly incompetent and murdered Bubbles, my sourdough starter, in cold blood. I need to start Bubbles 2.0, but I'm afraid of the failure. But I've seen a couple of his videos and he's quite fun. It's just like, I'm intimidated because his sourdough is so pretty and mine failed so badly.
The sourdough one is rough. It really is.
Do you have one?
I have kind of split the difference with that. I've done the Polish that he recommends, which is the kind of really short term, small scale starter, and that works
Oh, yeah.
brilliantly for ciabatta. That actually makes some really amazing
Ooh.
ciabatta bread. In terms of the actual sourdough thing, I have kind of bounced off that a couple of times. I've looked at his version. I've looked at the version by Tartine Bakery in San Francisco, and it is tough to maintain. But I'm sticking with. I'm going to give it another go soon, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that because if I could kind of hack it, I've seen another video that was recommending if you're making any yeasted bread but you're low on yeast, you can take a piece of the yeasted bread and put it away and feed it the way you would a sourdough.
Oh,
And then, like, it starts as a bit of help because it already contains yeast, but as you go and as you keep using it, it turns into a sourdough. And then if you fail, but you still have some yeast in the cupboard, you're saving your yeast. But if your fake starter fails, you can kind of restart a new one really quickly.
oh, that's really cool. I had no idea.
Yeah, and then somebody on Twitter was like talking about how you can make sourdough starter, like make water that helps you with a sourdough starter if you don't have yeast in the house, by like soaking raisins, or like I think he was saying also old bread or whatever, like the method of, making sure that your sourdough would rise in ancient times would be to use foods that kind of are yeasted anyway, and get that yeast by soaking it into water and using the water for a sourdough.
That would explain why the other method I've seen is chop up a couple of grapes and throw them in with the flour and water.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
That's really cool. I'm going to give that a try.
yeah.
Thank you.
I'm gonna watch that last channel you mentioned because it just sounds amazing. It just sounds really fun.
Life of Boris is gloriously absurd. It's really good fun.
So my thing that is making me very happy right now is that I have just, for the first time since university, started a D&D campaign.
Oh, dude, nice.
I'm in a wonderful Slack with a group of friends, and we've been organizing those virtual hangouts to just like watch some TV or whatever. And one of the hangouts that we decided to do was why don't we do a virtual D&D campaign? And so 4 of us have just got together who were interested, various levels of D&D experience. I am the newbie, but we've got a wonderful DM, and then we are running this game that is based on the plot of Clocktor Boys by Ursula Vernon. And so it's kind of like the basic setup is like fantasy Suicide Squad. Like the entire party is picked out of jail and sent off on a mission that's viewed as completely a lost cause. We had to come up with, first of all, how did your character end up in prison? Why are they in prison? How long have they been in prison for? And of course, because I am me, my first initial thought was, well, obviously my character is in prison for stealing a loaf of bread and breaking a window pane and trying to escape from jail. Like immediately I was like, well, she's going to be fantasy Jean Valjean, because why would you not do that joke if you can? And so I
Exactly.
was just like, I made that joke in the Slack, and then I was like, no, I must commit to this bit because I care about committing to the bit. So I did it. So I had to figure out a backstory where it would make sense that this character would be in prison for quite a long time for stealing a loaf of bread.
This is perfect.
Thank you. So I ended up with this character who is a dwarf who was kind of raised outside of the mountain because she was in a trading caravan that her parents were working on. And then because of that, it kind of allowed me to go with a more chaotic good character rather than lawful good, which I guess is more of a usual dwarf thing in D&D.
Mhm.
I have to say, I made this character on D&D Beyond, and that was so helpful because I'm not created a D&D character since university, and I'm not counting how many years ago that was. And so I'm going through the D&D Beyond kind of character setup. They have a really easy way to set up your character. If you're new, you can pick an avatar, and I picked a girl with red braids and a grumpy face, because literally all of my knowledge about fantasy dwarves come from Tolkien, which is fine because that's where D&D takes it to.
Of course.
And as an addendum, I probably should say, it informs this quite a lot, that a lot of my lockdown comfort reading to deal with the anxiety of these times has been to reread a lot of fan fiction for The Hobbit. So that's where my fantasy dwarf knowledge comes from. So that's what I've picked as my archetype. But it was amazing, and I rolled a natural 20 and a natural 1 in the same session. That was our first 2.5 hour D&D session, and it was just very, very fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just one of those fantastic D&D things, right? Because I rolled those 2 rolls for a very similar thing. My character has basically an exploding, bomb collar that is going to destroy her if she doesn't follow the plan. But instead of being a collar and a bomb, it's a tattoo of a little beastie that gnaws on her arm. And so I rolled for animal handling to see if she could make friends with it. Natural 20, it's purring, it's happy to know me and shit. And then I rolled to be able to get on my horse because I'm a dwarf. I have animal handling +6, and I rolled a natural 1 and I fell on my butt.
Sometimes you just got to faceplant,
Yeah. So D&D, it's great. Who'da thunk it? For our second segment today, we've got a light grilling of our guest planned. I have a number of questions for you. Some of them are quite serious, and some of them are very, very silly. Some of them will be rapid fire, and some of them you might want to elaborate on a little bit. It's
Okay.
a bit of a mishmash. Alasdair, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Zombies or vampires?
Zombies.
Nice. You mentioned earlier that you have been baking for a little while. What are you making right now?
Right now, in fact, later on today, I'll be making a vegan version of tacos El Pastor. This comes from one of my favorite ranges of cookbooks, Thug Kitchen, who do this amazing kind of punk rock approach to veganism. And El Pastor normally is, if I remember correctly, pork. Vegan tacos El Pastor is sauce made from a can of pineapple. I think there's some tomato in there, but not very much. And basically every spice you can find, chili, paprika, all that kind of stuff, just a little bit, throw it all in there and blend it down. And then grate a sweet potato or two, so it's just little shreds of it, and flash fry it for maybe 5 minutes in the sauce. And then drop that in tacos and crumble some kind of salty cheese across the top. Wensleydale is actually amazingly good for that, and it's
Ooh.
so freaking good, and it's so easy to make. And I'm actually, it's one, you know how sometimes you get to the end of the day and you're like, I don't want to cook. This is going to take ages. Tacos al pastor takes no time at all and is delicious and is fun to make. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Ooh, that sounds amazing. What's your Hogwarts house?
I would go Ravenclaw.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
You've been working from home for a while. Do you have any advice for people who are just starting to work from home right now?
I have some advice and I have a kind of flat statement which will hopefully reassure them. It's okay. This does feel weird for a while, but it won't feel weird forever. In terms of advice, there's two really, really simple things I've always tried to do, which work immensely well. You know that old story of oh well, writers work from home, they don't even bother getting dressed or showering or anything like
Get
that.
dressed!
Exactly.
Oh my god.
Get dressed. Seriously. Um, Especially now when we're all allowed a single state approved moment of exercise outside. Don't
Hmm.
work in your pajamas because it will, tempting as it is, unless it's the weekend, because then it will just feel like there's no state change. You're just kind of sitting down and working, and then suddenly 10 minutes and 15 hours have passed, and it's time to be asleep. And the other thing is, you can still commute. This is actually a really useful piece of advice that Ed Fortune from Brave New Words popped up on Twitter a couple of days ago. Commutes suck, but they provide one very, very useful thing, which is enabling people to have some transition time from sleep to breakfast to work and back. So take some time in your day to commute. I do. I take half an hour playing Just Cause 4 or listening to a podcast. In the evening, Marguerite and I both take like 15-20 minutes to just read a short story or something. Have some ramp up and ramp down time. It will help give your day structure, and it will also help you feel like you're not just sleeping and working.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I would say is you mentioned except at the weekend, and I would say actually, like please make sure to have some time off and not fall into the trap that because you're always in the same place, you're always in the same, kind of work state, I guess.
Yeah,
Like just because you're all working from home doesn't mean you need to be taking emails or texts or whatever from your boss at the weekend, if you're not working on those days.
exactly. Marguerite actually has a really good hack for that. She's put her office hours in her email signature. And that's a really good kind of ambient way of managing expectations.
Speaking of being at home and the lockdown, I want to ask you what's a positive thing that you've seen in these dark times on as big or as small a scale as you want, but in the spirit of like looking for the helpers?
I've seen the internet be redeemed, which is a massive sweeping statement, isn't it? But honestly, I think that's what I'm seeing. I mean, one of the many endless facets of horribleness about this current situation is how quickly it broke when it finally did break, and how suddenly people who you were planning on seeing that weekend you couldn't see, or places you couldn't go or anything like that.
Yeah.
And from a very personal point of view, I love going to the movies. I love movies, and I actually love the experience of going. I might be the single person left who still enjoys it because it takes me out of my head. And most of the time, my routine was, prior to all of this, was that if I would, if I got everything finished, I'd basically sign off early and go see a movie and have a cup of coffee on Friday afternoon. And I can't do that anymore, or I thought I couldn't, because I still can. Admittedly, I make the coffee myself and the movie is in my lounge, but I can still knock off early, I can still take that time for me. And I'm seeing that sudden realization of the internet not just as a passive environment, but as a tool for positive interaction everywhere. The massive explosion in Twitch streams,
Yeah.
the how easily people have adapted to meeting online instead of meeting in person, the way that email and social media is being used to keep people in contact. I mean, my parents are both in their mid 70s. My mom is immunocompromised, so they're actually a month into this now,
Yeah.
and they're dealing with it really well. My mom's on WhatsApp now.
Yeah, I know mine too. What is that?
Right. And my 76-year-old mother is on WhatsApp, and she's dealt with it really, really well. She knows her way around it better than I did at this point. And seeing the way people have kind of shifted how they view the internet, and how it's become a cohesive society maintaining tool, is incredibly inspiring and hopeful for me.
Yeah. And speaking of WhatsApp, I want to flag one thing that, like, a technology thing in my life that's been super great is that me and my, like, very close neighbors have a WhatsApp group, and it's like a bunch of flats, that are physically near each other, and we can't hang out, obviously. But previously, we only used the WhatsApp group like once or twice a year to plan socials and things like that. And now, every time one of us goes to the shops, it's like, right, I'm off for a Tesco run. Who needs anything? Like, one person was having symptoms, and we're able to check, like, is it just a cold? Is it gone straight away? It was, thankfully. And also, cat pictures and dog pictures, very important.
Exactly. And literally my favorite tweet from the last week, and I forget, I wish I could attribute it, but I didn't notice who put this up, was, if you have a dog and you're on a Zoom meeting, trust me, show the dog to people. Everyone on the meeting wants to see the dog.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that. And even when we were playing D&D on Skype, like, it literally, all of us were showcasing our pets. Even me, and my pet sleeps in a cinnamon roll shape and doesn't stop sleeping in a cinnamon roll shape, just like kind of gets up and changes the way the cinnamon roll is orientated. But yeah, she just sleeps. So, Now, Alistair,
Yes.
do you have a favorite B movie?
Yes.
I thought you might, It sounded like the kind of thing you'd have.
I have two. One is a really high class movie that likes to pretend it isn't a B movie and is lying, and the other is categorically a B movie. I'll give you the B movie first. If you've never seen Life Force, treat yourself. It is so bad and so good. Um, I'll give you the premise, and you let me know the exact point at which you're like, nope. Mm-mm. A joint UK-US mission to Halley's Comet finds a 3-kilometer long organic spacecraft hiding in the comet's tail. They, of course, go aboard, where they find a large amphitheater full of desiccated bat-like corpses and 3 crystal coffins containing 3 beautiful naked bodies. They, of course, put them back on the shuttle and come home.
Well, obviously.
Of course. Uh, the All contact is lost with the shuttle, which brilliantly is called the Churchill, until it drifts back into Earth orbit, because that's what shuttles do. They drift back into orbit,
Yeah, sure.
and a sole survivor is recovered, as are the 3 bodies. What emerges in quick succession is that these are life force eating vampires that sweep by the Earth every time Halley's Comet does and cause abject havoc.
Yes.
Ranged against them are the haunted mission commander of the initial expedition, who of course has kind of deep-seated, complex, frequently naked feelings for the beautiful female alien sex vampire.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, and Colonel Colin Kane of the SAS. Colonel Colin Kane of the SAS is the greatest unsung genre hero of all time, because he
Oh my
does
god.
not give a single shit. It's like, I've often tried to figure out the best way to describe it. Life Force is like a Doctor Who episode where the main character has been dropped in from an absolutely serious, completely grounded thriller, and he's just looking at all the weird science fiction stuff with abject disgust. His response to everything is like, huh, okay. Like there's a moment towards the end where what's left of London has been corralled in a refugee camp on the other side of the Thames, and he commandeers a car, drives up to the barricade to go back in, and the guy in the barricade goes, "Where you going, sir?" "London." "Don't want to go there, sir." "I know." Drives past, and every single one of his interactions is like that. Life Force makes no sense. It is hilariously over the top, and at one point it features Patrick Stewart vomiting a homunculus of blood that then kisses someone and explodes. It may be the best B movie ever.
Gross.
Yes. Then there's the one which pretends it isn't a B movie, but so is. I speak of no other movie but Speed,
Ah.
or as I like to call it, action movie tapas. Because when you look at Speed, it's not actually a single film. It's three one-act action movies glued together by Keanu Reeves' biceps. You have the Die Hard section in the building, you have the Speed section on the bus, and you have the really ill-advised ending on the subway cart. Although, fun fact, fact fans, the briefly seen before he gets executed subway driver in that sequence is in fact Richard Schiff, who would go on to play Toby Ziegler in The West Wing. Yes. I love Speed because it is the most hilariously over the top, ridiculously put together film I've genuinely ever seen. Also, and this is one of those things that I get such a kick out of, time has been very kind to it in a very strange way because now you can legitimately look at Speed, Point Break, and John Wick, and with minimal effort, establish that this is clearly the same guy at different times in his life. But Johnny Utah's time in the FBI obviously ended badly, as we see. So he changes his identity and tries his hand as an LAPD SWAT officer, and that goes fine for a little bit. But then it doesn't, and then he drifts and heads into the underworld. And before we know it, he's got long hair, a really good dog, and he's getting shot a lot,
Yeah, that sounds fair.
doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it doesn't top my favorite like movies linked together thing, which is the deep dive that somebody's done explaining why the kid from the Home Alone movies is in fact the Saw killer. And it really tracks.
Oh, I love that entirely too much.
It really tracks very well. Anyway, the final question that I have for you today is what is a fandom thing that you're currently looking forward to?
A fandom thing that I am currently looking forward to. I've got two. I've got like a big systemic one, and I've got a slightly less big one. The big systemic one is the way that fandom has by necessity begun to embrace the concept of the virtual convention.
Yes.
And I'm really excited both by that and by the long term consequences that that will have. And I know we're all kind of braced for horrifying long term consequences for everything that's going on, but I genuinely think this is the one of the very few instances where we're going to have a more positive outcome than we would expect out of this situation.
Yeah.
Because I
Mm-mm.
mean, you and I have talked a lot about the importance of accessibility in shows and how many shows often either don't factor it in or don't factor it into the level that they ultimately need to. And I think certainly the Nebulas and the early word I'm seeing from New Zealand lead me to believe that these are going to be virtual shows that go very well. And if they do,
Mm.
they will change how people approach conventions, as obviously will the simple fact that trying to get lots of people in one place may be difficult for a little while, even after all of this is blown over. But I'm fascinated to see the shape that fandom is going to be after all of this and through as a result of those processes. Because I think there's the potential for it to be more accessible and ultimately better for everybody.
And I know it's hard. I've seen some people, discussing how, perforce for them, a virtual convention is not going to be as good because you don't get to see your friends. And,
Of course.
I was going to go to New Zealand for Worldcon. Me and a group of booktuber friends were going to go and do like a big road trip before getting to the con, and we had this whole like 2 week thing planned out, and it was beautiful. And it's not gonna happen now, and we are not sure yet how much money we're going to lose for stuff that was already purchased, and whether we're going to be able to have refunds and all that. So there are certainly aspects of it that suck. However, I'm very, very excited that Worldcon made such a decisive announcement because they announced it so early, you know? we've seen conventions in other places that have been forced to wait to announce until quite late because they needed to have, the local government say that they weren't allowed so that they could claim back on insurance and stuff. And I was fully prepared to have to wait in limbo not knowing. And the fact that there's been such an early decisive announcement from Worldcon is giving me a lot of hope, actually, because now they have so much time to plan. And I am making myself not volunteer for it so hard because I don't have time, but I'm so fascinated by it. I'm so intrigued, and I really want to help out.
I have kind of two immediate take homes from that. The first is I'm so proud of you for making yourself not volunteer, because I know how hard that must be. And
Thank you.
the second one is that was actually my kind of smaller scale thing in fandom that I was looking forward to. I have, for all sorts of reasons, I have some issues with the whole kind of happy clappy isn't the fan community wonderful thing, because a lot of the time it can be, and a lot of the time it isn't. But I think one of the areas where it indisputably can and will be is as you start to see society come out the other side of this, as you start to see changes being made and people adapting to the new normal. There is no group of people on earth who are better at fixing communities than this. And I think the possibility of a more inclusive, more positive community coming out the other side of it, by simple dint of the fact that suddenly we're all hyper focused on connection and on communication, is really exciting. I'm very, very excited to see how that plays out.
All right, that's all we have time for today. But before we go, Alasdair, can you tell people a little more about where they can find you online?
Yes, of course. You can find me in a couple of different places. The shows are all at, the best place to start is escapeartists.net, and that will link out to the other 4 shows, plus all the Cats Cast content, because you really want that. In terms of personal stuff, you can find me online at alasdairstuart.com. I'm on Twitter at Alasdair Stuart, and my weekly pop culture newsletter, The Full Lid, releases every Friday at 5. There's a subscriptions link for The Full Lid on my website, and I link to it regularly through the Twitter as well.
Can confirm the full lid is awesome. Highly, highly recommend it.
Thank you.
And thank you again for joining me, Alasdair.
It's been a pleasure.
That it truly has been. And thanks to all of you for tuning in to Radio Free Fandom. Extra super duper special thanks to my awesome patrons who help make this show possible. If you'd like to check out the Patreon campaign that supports this show and my booktube channel, you can visit patreon.com/Claire Rousseau. You can find us on Twitter at Radio Free Fandom, email us at radiofreefandom@gmail.com, or head over to our website, radiofreefandom.com, to see the show notes and find out more about our awesome guests. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a rating or review on iTunes, as that will help us find new listeners, and it will give me the warm fuzzies. Our show music is Super Friendly by Kevin MacLeod. Find out more at incompetech.com.